This is the Drive-In Podcast. Take one. Bada bing, bada boom. Welcome to the 91st episode of the Drive-In Podcast. On today's episode, we have a recap for episode 4 of Marvel's Moon Knight. So use the bathroom now, grab that popcorn, and enjoy the 91st episode of the Drive-In Podcast. Howdy doody, episode 91 of the Drive-In Podcast has arrived. Shout out Steven Stamkos, 91 hockey number. How are you? As expected, this is Dr. O on the horn. I'm joined as always by my brother, my co-host, the one and only Ricky Flicks. Beautiful day we have here, Ricky Flicks. A beautiful day to spend the afternoon inside watching Moon Knight, that is. Ricky Flicks, the series is heating up. We'll get to we'll catch you up from episode 3 into 4. We'll arc you, but I wanted to see how you're doing on this fine Wednesday evening.
I am tired, and I'll tell you why I'm tired. So, Tuesday night, I go to bed. I go to bed at a reasonable hour. Okay, we're here on the East Coast, so these streaming releases, they don't drop at midnight like some of you on the West Coast, some of our listeners here. They drop at like 3 a.m. Okay, midnight Pacific time. So I go to bed in the morning. I'm expecting I'll go to work, I'll come home, and then I'll watch Moon Knight. I'll live with the anticipation. For some reason, my body just said at 4 o'clock in the morning, let's get up today. So I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. What did I do? I tried to go back to bed. Yes, of course. Well, I had to try. But then after that, what did I do? When I couldn't go back to bed, I watched Moon Knight at 4 o'clock in the morning. And it might have taken away from my experience, but it was an experience, and I don't wish it on anybody. I stayed up for the whole thing, but I watched Moon Knight at 4 o'clock in the morning, Doctor.
If I watched this episode at 4 in the morning, I might think I'm still asleep, based on the wackiness and the dreamlike scenarios that happened at the end of this episode. I was floored by this episode. We're going to get right into it, Ricky Flicks. Let's start off. I'll recap where we left off with episode 3 into episode 4. So we have Khonshu basically surrendering to the gods. He is basically trapped inside a figurine. The gods now have him stored away in the pyramids, along with a bunch of other gods that seem to be trapped in this one wall that is full of these gods that seem like they're just begging to be released by episode 6. We'll get to there at some point when we get to predictions. But then we have Layla and Steven trekking on their way to find Amit before Arthur Harrow. And it leads to an episode where we don't see any Moon Knight. We don't see the suit. But man, did we get an action-packed episode with a mix and a blend of different genres. Really, I think, cementing the fact that this is really a series that stands on its own, one that doesn't have further connections to the MCU through 4 out of 6 episodes. And I can't say I've been more entertained by another MCU show at this point. So Ricky Flex, I want to get your initial reactions upon finishing this episode. What was going through your mind? Instant reactions, go.
I disagree with you.
What?
I disagree. Okay, I think this is a letdown. It's officially turned to a letdown.
You're insane.
I think it's been a great show. But the anticipation was too much. As in the East, it's similar to a WandaVision. This is a spoiler, right? We're talking spoilers here.
This is a spoiler recap and breakdown.
So the hippo.
We're jumping to this right now.
That's what was the letdown. That and no Moon Knight again. Through 4 episodes, we've seen probably 5 minutes of him in the suit. That's not good enough. He better be in the entire suit for the entire 50 minutes for the next 2 episodes, because this is ridiculous. So those are my 2 biggest gripes. Was this episode bad? No, this was a very good episode. Did it stretch a lot of try to get in your the mummy Indiana Jones vibe? Too much? Definitely. definitely was a stretch, but overall, this was a very good episode. But the expectations of this end of this episode, the director, Oscar Isaac, saying, you don't know what's coming. Like, yes, you could say like the therapist, that whole realm, but the hippo, we wanted to see the cameo. And it was the hippo.
Ricky, this is the first time I think we disagree vehemently on this show. I've switched my tone after seeing this episode. I don't need the Moon Knight suit to have a spectacular episode. We're going to get in episodes 5 and 6, but with no Khonshu, like you were expecting, probably not going to have, right, the suit in this episode. I thought the blending, it moved, like it picked up where the Indiana Jones vibes left off, but then brought in like a horror type element that is what I was expecting when Kevin Feige was starting to hype up this show before it was even released. This had almost an Indiana Jones meets Alien type vibe. And then at the end of it, I felt like I was thrown into the sequel to 12 Monkeys in a Mental Institution. This show is changing genres, but somehow it fits the performance of Oscar Isaac perfectly. We got great backstory on Layla, and it's setting up, I guess, for this third identity personality to finally be unlocked from the sarcophagus that is in presumably the mind of Stephen Grant / Mark Spector. I just thought this was a show. I just took away the fact it said Marvel Studios production at the beginning of it, watched it for what it was, and I was floored. I thought it was amazing, and it showed that Marvel can make a show without further connections and without a super suit and still have spectacular returns. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I thought this is one of my favorite episodes in Marvel history because it shows the capabilities that they don't have to rely on comic book elements. They can rely upon good filmmakers, great acting, and complex and wacky storytelling to carry it. So that's what I'm saying. So that's why I disagree. I would love to see the suit. It's badass as hell, but this proves we don't need it. Like, that's how good this show is.
And again, we always talk about like exactly what you said is what we always wanted, right? But at the end of the day, it's still a comic book. This is still a superhero story. That's why I'm watching. It can't be the only reason why you're watching, Ricky. It can't be. Well, I'm also watching for the stars, of course, but at the end of the day, what's the show called? Mark Spector or Moon Knight? That's what I'm trying to say here. So again, I think I agree with you on all your points, but for me to say that they didn't build up this cameo, they didn't build up the end of this episode to this extent to give us that, I do not agree with. And that's WandaVision. Like, I still think this is a lot better than WandaVision, just based on the critical success of this show that you just alluded to. But you cannot have that hype for, you could argue that Hippo is a worse cameo than a Double Vision.
We don't even know anything about the Hippo yet. We don't know anything.
I did a little research. here.
There's no way this is a Marvel character, a Hippo.
This goes to your point, and I also like it too. There's no comic book backstory with this Hippo. It is an Egyptian goddess. The Hippo, okay, listen to this. People that are Egyptian that are listening could probably shout us out, tell us more, and tell me what I'm wrong here. But
enlighten us. So, Stephen Grant.
Egyptians were like feared but respected. Oh, sorry, hippos were feared but respected by Egyptians.
Okay? And by humans, by me currently.
But this hippo in particular, it's starts with a T. I can't pronounce it. Tawawa or something. But so basically, with this role, she's like the goddess of like fertility. She like protects children and mothers. Okay, so possibly she's gonna protect here Mark Spector here, and also kind of get him back in the stability mindset because he's kind of freaking out right now. He's seeing Stephen Grant separately right now. That's just a prediction here, but it's gonna be interesting how they wind in this Egyptian goddess with no comic book ties to this comic book character. And that goes along with mixing in this third identity that's gonna that's most likely in that whatever tomb, whatever sarcophagus. I'm not a grammar guy, but yeah. So that again,
Ricky.
Funny as heck, but not a Blade type cameo, not a Kit Harington, not anything to that. Not the third identity.
Promised a cameo. You are so.
But that's what they implied.
You were falling for the WandaVision. You fell for it. The WandaVision show.
And why not fall for it?
But you can't just. I know we are a podcast. We live off rumors. We live off like potential for shows. You can't get hung up just because episode 4 didn't have a major cameo. I think what they meant by episode 4, they're going to unlock something in this show that maybe you didn't assume, right? We're talking about the sarcophagus, the potential third personality, but it also is taking this show in a totally new direction. It gives you insane hints at a backstory and the trauma that Mark Spector has gone through that might attribute to his split personality disorder. We get so many hints. We're just jumping to like the last part of this episode. We have
yes,
we're just doing it. We're doing it.
We
So
can work our way back.
This is like almost it's different Easter eggs from early on in Mark's life. They hint at like maybe where the Stephen Grant personality came from. It's from a VHS that he watched as a kid, someone who was obsessed with ancient Egypt, these gods and the pyramids and these historical items and like these spiritual items. I know it's a little late to be getting some backstory here, but we do need a little bit more info on the actual, I guess, reason that Mark is this way. All right. What gave it what maybe, and you talk about a protector, like this hippo is a protector of like children and mothers. Maybe along with this video, maybe I have to rewatch and look up for more Easter eggs here. We have Mark who suffered some type of trauma as a kid. Okay. Maybe something happened to his mother. And this goes with the phone conversations at the beginning of the show. Is he really talking to his mom? Right? Or maybe he's tricked himself that he's talking to his mom because he went through this trauma and it's going to be revealed by this hippo. So I'm saying there is excitement to the backstory of Mark Spector that it still is yet to be revealed. And we're only just scratching the surface. And I guess I'll leave it there and hear your thoughts after that, because I think the phone calls to the mom it's going to be tied together by this hippo. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. And this mental institution, like it hinted at earlier episodes, like the cupcake, the cupcake like was there, the action figure was there, the scarab, right? And then it had like other people besides like Harrow, obviously being the therapist, hinted at that. But I think going back to your point here with like his origin story that we haven't really gotten yet, it just seems like we're going to get a different one from the comics as well, right?
I'm not sure of the backstory of his identity.
He basically became Moon Knight, his disorder, identity disorder is like from a childhood trauma.
Yeah.
So it's like, it looks like maybe this identity disorder didn't happen until post Moon Knight, like probably the guiltiness of the Layla dad situation that we got to finally hear from this time around, which is also driven by that's also from the comics.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they're huge
reveal.
Yeah, huge reveal. And maybe that's probably why, that's probably where the trauma is coming from, not like the comics from his childhood. But then again, we get the calls from the mom that we just forgot about. It hasn't happened since episode 1. So they're gonna have to tie that in somehow here. Maybe this hippo, like you said, protector of mother's children, maybe that ties it in. Maybe the hippo is going to help them free Khonshu. Who knows?
Yeah, I think 100% that's what we're looking at. He looks like he's going to be able to face this childhood trauma, and he's also suppressing this memory he's hid from Layla, right, regarding the death of her father. He was there. He didn't necessarily kill her father, but he's partially responsible for the death of his wife's father, that's a lot to hold in your mind. Okay. And someone who already is going through dissociative identity disorder, it feels like we're about to reach a breakthrough with this character, a third identity that's going to be unlocked. All right. And then I assume by unlocking himself. Maybe somehow he's going to be able to reach Khonshu, and then we know he gets shot, and that's what brings us to this like asylum that he is in, right? Whether it's all in his mind. We can clearly tell it's all in his mind, but maybe it's going to take Khonshu to help break him out along with this hippo facing this trauma, and then this third identity that helps bring everything all together. All right. So I know that sounds really complex and it sounds nutso, but that's why I think this show is so compelling. Like by having like facing this backstory, facing a third identity, and then bringing the suit episodes 5 and 6, it's going to make one killer of a finale. All right. We got 5 and 6 still coming. Still got to rescue Khonshu in 5. And then we'll go into predictions later. But I am excited to at least spend a little more time in this asylum that is Mark Spector's brain and mind, and then finding out more about him. It's just awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, like
awesome
this is
stuff.
confirmed definitely all in his mind, right? Like this is like this can't, there's no possible way.
Well, yeah, well, he's facing like Mark meets Steven, like literally person to person.
Yeah, and then the third identities in the
he's literally in his own mind right now. He's
Right.
in his own brain. And then like obviously he's like asking, like Steven and Mark are asking, you got shot. Last thing you remember. Yes, we're in the same boat here. Good. It's like confirming like this is not real. This is not real. Okay. Right. And as I said before, there were some Easter eggs there. You have like the Moon Knight action figure that's on the ground. Like there's going to be so much dissection of this episode. It's going to feel like you're breaking down a trailer for the new Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, no, that's definitely like when you're breaking down a Marvel trailer, trying to find the Easter eggs. That's definitely what you were doing in this scene, the final 5 minutes in this. But hey, I think we talked at length about this final scene. My last thoughts are, it is definitely like the personas that we gave, or he gave each person, like the police officers that were sent to his apartment. They were like the bodyguards, like helpers they work at the mental institution. And Ethan Hawke, Harrow, the therapist. And I'll say this, he kills it. Like he murdered it in that role. He like Ethan Hawke is just an amazing actor. I love this guy.
He is, and this like adds like how compelling he is, and like the real estate he has in Mark Spector's brain. Like he just dominates him. And like obviously talk about like the beginning of this, the first episode where he's balancing the scales, trying to read Mark. It obviously is a burden on him that this Arthur Harrow knows what he's done. He knows his sins. He knows what he did, right, to lay his wife's father. So this guy, and he's just following him nonstop. He's at every turn. He's like his boogeyman. And now he's his therapist. So I think they're doing an excellent job. I love how they brought him into like that section. For a minute, you thought it almost had like a Joker type feel, where it's like, was this real? You know, I know it's Marvel and stuff like that. And like, it's obviously Moon Knight. It's a real thing. But there's a moment where I kind of like forgot I was watching an MCU show. And I was like, damn, was he really like just thinking about this the entire time? And they were trying to like pull these Easter eggs of like things that have happened to him, all his memories throughout the first 4 episodes. And they kept placing them strategically. I thought it was just super well done. Super well done. But then obviously, good confirmation by Mark and Steven as they come together.
Right. Can we just let's just go back to the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, you jumped to this. I wanted to build to it, but it's too
impossible.
Exciting.
Impossible.
You want me to go from the beginning, or you want to you take the lead?
Well, we get the long-awaited kiss.
Yes, I wanted to bring this up.
So we get the kiss, and like that's just like a clear signal that the show is like similar to other Marvel shows. It's like, oh, like this is like exactly what we predicted. Like we're gonna get this, we're gonna get a third identity here. They're gonna free Khonshu here, like this. But then like what we were just talking about, that's where this show is different, where like that mental stability and just like the craziness of that ending is like why this show makes it different, and the non-comic book elements as well, which is why this show is different. But at the end of the day, it's still a Marvel project that hits those same notes. This long-awaited kiss. Steven did it knowingly, and it keeps the same Marvel notes.
And he pulled away from the kiss at first, and then he went for it. You know, Steven making moves, even when Mark doesn't want him to. He's not afraid of Mark. And I feel like we talk about this moment they share at the end of the episode. It's going to bring them together, and then they're going to have to address this third identity. But I do agree with one aspect you brought up. This show is a little bit too telegraphed. I can read their cross court passes from a mile away.
Right.
I can see, like, even with the archaeologist and like the second episode where Arthur Harrow is watching tapes, or his like goons are watching the tape, looking at what Mark Spector has done in his past. They mentioned like he killed a group of archaeologists, and then at the beginning of this episode, it's like, what would your dad do? He was an archaeologist and he paid for it. I was like, okay, he killed her.
Yeah,
he killed her dad. It's so easy to telegraph in that regard. So I guess that's a weakness of the show. One of the bigger weaknesses for sure. Where do I want to go here? So we the romance you brought up.
I have another big thing. I just want to like talk about the dynamics between Layla and Steven, and now we have obviously the complexity now with Layla knowing about Mark, and that's going to add a whole new dimension when eventually he comes back to the show. So I guess, is Layla going to learn how to love both of these people? That almost seems like impossible to this point. Well, I think that so this is Mark's body. Like, this is Mark's.
Right. But I don't think he can just ignore Steven. Like, he's still going to have a presence.
No, but I think this hippo, and right now what's going to happen in episode 5 with Mark, the hippo, and Steven, is that Mark's going to get over his guilt, right? Mm-hmm. Go up against it, and Steven's going to help him. But also, when he gets over this guilt, he'll get the best of Steven and become one by the end of the series. And so like he'll be Steven, like by day, Mark mercenary Moon Knight when he needs to be fighting crime, being a mercenary by night or whenever.
I feel like there's going to be some emotional moment. You talk about them coming together where, like,
they want to be with each other.
I can't see them. Like, he can't keep flip-flopping his accents and things like this. There's going to be a Disney moment that's going to make, it's like a Pixar moment where Mark's going to say goodbye to Steven, where it's like, okay, we are now one or something like that. I can't see him flip-flopping the accents for, like, let's say Oscar Isaac is appearing as this character for 7 more MCU projects. He's going to be flipping back and forth for every single appearance he has.
Isn't Wanda.
I feel like he would quit after the first season if this happened. You know, it's just too much of an effort to keep up.
And I think that's the point of the show, though, not just like the comic book elements that we talked about, but like why this show's different. It's tackling these issues. The identity disorder, like, it's got to have a conclusion to that. It's not going to just keep carrying on. So by the end, that's going to be a part of the climax. It's about him coming together with Steven and possibly either joining with this third identity or getting rid of it that we've talked about. So again, that's a huge part of the show, arguably more so clearly because we didn't even get Moon Knight in 2 of the episodes out of the 4. So I think that you could say it's even a bigger part of the show, which makes the show even more different that we talked about before.
So I guess that kind of like, we hit we covered most of the bases, I guess, unless you have something else to bring up. I'm like, we covered the romance at the beginning. We covered the horror elements and the Indiana Jones elements here. And then we went into like this purgatory state, or the purgatory state of mind that Mark is currently in. But you seems like you have something else to add. What do you want to cover, dude?
So obviously the other big thing is that Harrow shoots Mark. Right. So that's what gets him into this state, mental state, purgatory state, or whatever. So it's interesting to see like what's going to happen there once, like, because obviously the Moon Knight action figure, that's symbolizing, that's what he just took from Alexander the Great's throat. Right. So,
like the figurine for Ammit.
Right. So it's interesting to see, like, does Harrow get some of his henchmen to go down in the water and grab it from Mark / Steven, or does Mark / Steven still have it? That's like a huge thing, I would say. And then I only have one other thing, but I want to hold off on that in case you have any other thoughts.
Oh, just when he got shot, my immediate thought is, obviously when he got shot, I didn't think they were going to this like purgatory state that he's in. I knew something similar was going to happen, but I knew
you would have been a genius.
I was just thinking, like, he's going to be saved by Khonshu. He's going to be saved by the suit. So when I saw the figurine, and I think about like the powers some of these figurines have had, they are the gods, right? Like we see Khonshu being placed on the wall with all these other gods. And then you have Ammit being taken out of Alexander the Great's throat by Steven. It just makes me think they're going to use this figurine to unlock like the powers of Moon Knight, and he's going to be able to heal from these wounds and just wake up. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know
that.
how that's gonna work logistically. I'm
yeah.
not Steven over here. I don't understand the gods, and I don't know. Maybe this is a way where he doesn't have to lean on Khonshu. I don't know. It might just unlock something that was always inside of him.
I had a different take, but I don't hate that. I was thinking, so what have they been doing in the show? They've been slowly building up Layla as well, the potential next Avatar, the potential next Moon Knight. Maybe she goes freeze Khonshu on her own, and then
to save him,
saves Mark, because then he has the
that's
Moon
a
Knight
better
suit.
theory. It makes more sense. I was guessing with the figurine thing.
Just a theory, just my prediction. But yeah, no, I think by the end of this episode, like that's what my theory is going to the next episode. I don't think, like, does Mark still have it? Yes, I do. But how long will this take? Do they go after Layla? As in Harrow? I'm not sure where Ethan Hawke's character goes from here, but
Layla's got to be out of there.
Yeah, like, I think so too.
Maybe she goes to grab Amit from Mark. Maybe, probably not, because Harrow's right there. But maybe I think I love that prediction. She goes because they're like, we need. Khonshu kept saying, send Mark to come get me, and this is an opportunity for the person that Khonshu wants as his next avatar. She's going to prove herself. She's going to save Khonshu, bring him to Mark, and probably they could be making a deal of some sort too. Like he might, she is the avatar. Like Khonshu doesn't necessarily need Mark. What if Layla just grabs it and she takes on the suit somehow to save Mark? That could be a thing.
That could be a big
thing. Like a
She-Venom
type thing.
Yeah, Moon Knight. Like I think Layla, like her real name is
Marlene.
Yeah, and I think in the comics she is like at one point Moon Knight at some point, or no.
I haven't read the comics. I know nothing about this character, so I am not the person to ask. So if you are listening right now, make sure you tweet at us and like get us right, educate us. We're looking to learn. We're always looking to expand our minds, expand our horizons, just like it looks like Mark Spector is going to do in the next episode of Moon Knight. Any other theories that you want to bring up, predictions for the upcoming episode, or even looking towards episode 6?
No, I think that's my main prediction here. They free Khonshu next episode, figures his crap out. They unlock the third identity. Then episode 6, Harrow, let's get after it. I'm a stable man. I get over my guilt. I got Khonshu back. Let's finish this.
I kind of feel that we talk about the like being able to telegraph the show. Like they're a little too obvious with their hints, not too subtle, not as
so
subtle,
obvious. They're gonna flip it on us.
But not only that, not as careful as they should be. But like when they put they put Khonshu. I was confused that too. They put Khonshu on the wall, and you see all these other gods that are locked away. Like, are we gonna see this is what I fear. Is at the end of the show, you're gonna get like a huge CGI battle with all these gods going against one another.
No,
like these gods that have a
no.
vendetta against the current gods that lock them away. Somehow they get released by Arthur Harrow, and maybe Khonshu has to reunite with the gods that banished him, fight alongside Moon Knight, and take on these gods that are led by Arthur Harrow that have a vendetta. Right?
I hate how that makes sense.
Big time, but
that makes sense, because why would they just have a trial? Like they didn't have to do that. They didn't have have no Khonshu. Like they didn't have to do that, except it could have introduces the gods and goddesses. And then why give that music god such screen time? Like
it brings Khonshu's character full circle too.
I like that prediction. I'm just gonna stick with mine, but that's a good one. No, but as far as this episode, I think we pretty much covered it. There's only one other thing that's been on my mind more so than that hippo at the end. And it's right when they get into the tomb or the pyramid or whatever. And it's the blue Egyptian like protector. Now, am I the only one here that was thinking that at first I thought it was a spoof for X-Men Apocalypse?
What are we talking about?
The
Which scene?
the blue Egyptian like protector with the one that's attacking Layla and
Oh,
Mark.
the alien. Like,
Yeah.
that's where it gave me the alien vibes. I felt, but I
Yes.
couldn't get a clear view of who it was.
I
But she
thought it was.
fought it off.
I honestly thought it was a spoof at first. Like for
Really?
Oscar Isaac, who played Apocalypse, X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh my god, that might have been like
I
a
honestly
subtle
thought it
jab.
was. I was like laughing, but then I was like, oh wait, like this is gonna be a long scene
Because he plays an Egyptian god in
Yes.
He plays Apocalypse.
And a blue one. And
Right.
like with the thing, like the whole setup, they did the same thing. I was
They-
like, oh my God.
Oscar Isaac was like, them mother.
But it's like,
are you
holy
kidding?
crap.
I thought I escaped this stuff.
Right. And then, but the character, the whatever blue guy is in it more than just that one setting. Like he follows Layla and that horror element that you spoke to. So I was like, oh, this is real. Like we're getting into this alien vibe, like you said, the mummy vibes. So that was like my only other comment I had on this episode. Too funny to like never watch X-Men Apocalypse if you haven't yet.
Like the blending of the show genres are really like in this one episode, like it's almost like organized into 3 different acts, 3 different like types of
yes, for
like,
sure.
3 different types of acts that you're watching. You're like the Indiana Jones in the first third, then you got like an alien type horror vibe in the second, and the third it's like a psychological like mind bender that is perfect for like a 420 release. You know, it's almost like insane that this got released on 420. It just matched, and seeing that hippo at the end. I'm sure there's some viewers who like just piss themselves afterwards. Okay, that's what I got for Marvel's Moon Knight. That's what we have for Marvel's Moon Knight episode 4. So make sure you stay tuned with us next week when we recap episode 5. Make sure you're also tuned into the pod because we did a Nicolas Cage draft, his best roles, one of our best, I would say, Ricky Flicks, one of our best top billing drafts we've ever done in honor of the unbearable weight of massive talent, right?
You got it.
I get that title right.
It's a hard title.
We also had a great checkup and trailer breakdown of Thor: Love and Thunder, another MCU project, much more connected to the MCU than Moon Knight. We did a breakdown on Tuesday. Also, check that out on our podcast feed. Tomorrow, we have a very special podcast, a blockbuster battle, new format where we're going to be comparing The Dark Knight versus The Batman. Arguably the 2 best Batman movies to ever be put out on the big screen. We're going to have a very special guest joining us. We will not reveal, but make sure you tune in so you find out who that guest is. We look forward to his expertise and joining us for an in-depth conversation. It could be a 1-hour pod. It could be a 3-hour pod. It could be a 10-hour pod. We could talk about the Batman all day if you guys know anything about us. Before we go, Ricky Flicks, and I sign off here, we did talk. We usually give a recap on winning time, right? The Lakers. Have you seen it, Ricky Flex? Do we have to save that for maybe next episode?
So the Batman came out on HBO Max this week after. Yeah, no, I did not get to see that.
We'll start off with it on next episode.
Sorry, listeners.
Make sure you watch it. We'll do a quick recap, quick breakdown of the latest episode.
I was watching Nick Cage and the Batman. Priorities.
Yes, that's like arguably like if you were making a list of like film priorities, like Batman probably number 1 for me. Definitely, like I think for you too. Maybe Nick Cage might be 1. But it's 1-2 for you. My priorities are probably Batman, Tarantino movies, and then everything else. I think that's my top 2. Those will get me every time, distract me from doing anything. But that's going to do it for episode 91 of the Drive-In Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on the YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us wherever you listen to your podcast. Make sure you are following us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at the Drive-In Pod. Until next time, we will smell ya.